Yeah, Jordan. That's what's happening. That's what's up. What's up, guys? How we doing? It's good. I'll take it for now. It's the beginning. I'll take it. If I ask you that in 20 minutes. All right. So, my name is Sam. This is actually my first time teaching in Edge this year. It's good to be here. I spend most of my time with middle school students, so the younger version, the less mature version of yourselves. So this is a breath of fresh air. Just breathe it in. Do that with me. Just, it's fresh. It's fresh air. Doesn't smell, because you guys take showers, right? High school. Just kidding. So I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. Although I know some of you I might not know, and so I wanted to spend a couple minutes just introducing myself. And so as I said, my name is Sam. Franjione is my last name. It's Italian. Couldn't figure it out. That's okay. When I was your guys' age, I have a few pictures to illustrate my life for you. This first one, when I was in high school, I played football for Midland High. Maybe. Okay, that's fine. I got there early. So I played football for Midland High, which is about an hour and a half north of here. I loved football. I was pretty good at it. The picture was actually of me on the sidelines. But I played on offense. So it must have been, when we were on defense. So I played football like all throughout high school. Loved it. Gave it 100% of my life, 100% of my passion, energy, all of that. And then after high school, I went to college and got into a lot of debt. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. If you want to go to college, you should do it. Never mind. You pay a lot of money for a piece of paper, and unless you want to be a doctor. I'm just kidding. I didn't plan on talking to you guys about my opinions on college education tonight. I learned a lot. Here's what I would say. If I didn't go to college, I know that I wouldn't be here. So I'm thankful. Thanks, Liv. Thank you. Hey, I was 3.5 GPA in college. Okay, you can clap for that. Yes, thank you. Amazing. My first semester though, 2.1. The key, so I went to Central Michigan University for my first 2 years. Fire Up Chips. It's actually where I met Jesus, where I gave my life to him. The real fire up Holy Spirit inside of me. Christ. God is love. More of you, God. No place I'd rather be than here in your love. So I went to Central Michigan for 2 years. Then I transferred. Here's the trick. So if you do really, I'm going on. If you do really bad in your first couple years of college, you can transfer, and depending on the school, it'll just reset your GPA. So I graduated with 3.5. That's how I did it. And I mean, obviously, I worked a lot harder. It doesn't just automatically appear. But I transferred and I went to Ferris State. Bulldogs. D2 national champs basketball. You're like, I didn't know that. No one does. It's okay. So I went to Ferris State. When I was there, I actually, and at Central, kind of found a passion for hip-hop and rap music and became a little bit of a rap artist. Won a rap battle in my day. I did. Thank you. Gosh, is that Brian Petty? I got more to say about you later, my friend, but good night. That's good. So I did that for a little bit, and then I met my wife when I was in school, and which she's amazing. I've learned so much about Jesus, about my faith, about who God is and what he's called me to be because of her. And then most recently, we had an addition to our family about a year ago. She's 11 months old, and her name is Nora. If we do end up getting the picture at any point, we can just put it up on the screen, and I'll just know because of the Oz, and I'll be like, wow, there's the picture of my daughter. She's amazing. So I just wanted to share that, because now you know a little bit more of who I am. So my hope is you might listen to a little bit more of what I have to say. Just a little bit. If there's anything, though, that I learned through my time, oh, look, there she is. Look at that. That was on Halloween. She was a lion. It's like the most adorable picture I've ever seen. Jen, if you have all of them, you should just go to my football one. We're just going to look at that. Man, come on. You know he's scoring touchdowns. All right, then the next one. Oh, yeah. Spin some rhymes. Come on. Is that probably? I don't know. Okay, and then my next one, that's at my wedding. That's my wife. She's amazing. And then the next one was, I think, a picture in like a coffee shop. Gosh, oh, I'm wearing the same sweater. I didn't think that one through. That's all right. And then the next one, I think, was the Halloween. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you guys for getting that. So, through my life, I've learned a lot of things. We're in week 2 of our series we're calling Deep. So last week, Aaron shared about how our faith should move us to action, and he gave us a couple action steps of honoring our parents and then of putting others before ourselves, because that's what Jesus did with his life. And so when we think about our lives, when we think about living out our faith, we want to make sure we're not focusing on ourselves, but that we're focusing on the people around us. Tonight, specifically, we are talking about, we're looking at how God will take us deeper through others. He'll take us deeper in our faith through others, through the people around us. So if we want to go deeper in our faith, we need other people as well. We can't just do it on our own. One of my friends, his name's Tyler Verrier. He leads over at the Clinton Township campus. And he said it this way this summer. I was spending some time with him, and he said it this. He said, show me your friends. So think about this. He said, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So you think about the people you spend the most time with. Think about who your closest friends are. He said, show me them, and I'll show you where you're headed. I'll show you your future. Have you ever heard about this idea that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? Just think about that for a minute. Think about who are the 5 people you spend the most time with. Hopefully one of them's the Lord. That would up your average, right? That's what I always think about. I'm like, man, I need more time with Jesus. That'll just increase my average. But your friends and who they are, regardless of how they live, regardless of the things they do, will end up impacting who you become just by proximity, just by spending time with them. And this applies to everyone. I believe I've seen it take place in my life. I've seen it come to fruition in my life for me from God. And I hope and I really believe that it's for each and every one of you as well. I think that it's really true that when you look at your relationships, that they impact how we follow Jesus. They impact how we live out our faith and how we can go deeper. And I think about the people that God will use. Like, you can all think right now, if you're just thinking, probably throughout this night, you're going to be thinking of the people that God's put in your life that have helped you to become more like him. For me, when I was in college at Central, where I said I met Jesus, where I gave my life to him, none of that happens without a guy named Travis Conan. None of you know who Travis is. And that's okay. It's kind of sad, but it's okay. Travis was my roommate my freshman year. And I was in a place where I was searching for my identity in all of the wrong things. I was partying, I was drinking, doing a bunch of things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I remember there was a night where I ended up throwing up 7 times. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this. I need something to change in my life. Then a couple weeks later, Travis, who's my roommate, so just by proximity, he's kind of in my inner circle. And he says, hey, like, I don't know if you'd be interested, but I have a small group, kind of a life group thing that we have through my church if you want to come. And I said, well, shoot, like, that sounds like it could be a change. So yeah, I'll go. And I went, and it was fine. It wasn't spectacular or groundbreaking, but it was a few guys. And I was like, okay, cool. And then a couple days later, he said, hey, I don't know if you'd want to go, but we have that same group, like we have a bigger like church that we gather with on Thursday nights at our college. And he said, do you want to go? And I said, sure, I'll go. Like those guys were okay. So I went. And where I was in my life was in such a dark place, such a hopeless place, such a place of despair, that when the pastor got up at the end and he just invited people to come forward and pray, I got up there and the worship team was doing their thing and they were playing a song called All I Need Is You. And those were words I would have never thought, never known to say, never known to sing. But I was just sitting there on my knees. And I remember I was weeping and realizing for the first time in my life that Jesus was all that I needed. From there I go on to do rap music, go on to meet my wife, go on to have a child, and so many other things in between that journey. But personally, I don't think any of that happens. Like, if I really think about it, and I think back to Travis doing that and Travis inviting me to church, like, if he doesn't do that, I met my wife at that church, so if he doesn't invite me, I'm not going to meet her. If I don't meet her, then Nora, like that, the cutest picture in the world, doesn't exist. Which is really crazy and really deep to think about sometimes. And we think about the people in our lives, like we think about the power of an invitation, the power of somebody being in your inner circle. Because Travis changed my life forever. He changed my eternity forever just by being obedient to what God had for him. So think about maybe what are the things in your life that God's calling you to, the people that he's calling you to. Even think about this, because he was in my inner circle, but he might not have even have known it. Who are the people that might be in your life? So you think, when I say think of your inner circle, you have your 4 best friends, you have your 5 best friends, or the people that you're closest to. Maybe it's a couple people in your family, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever. And you have that. But then there's probably people who you're in their inner circle and you don't even know it. And so when I ask, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it a good thing that you could be in someone's inner circle and not even know it because you carry influence there and not even know it? I just want to leave that out there for you to think about, because for all of us along the way, we can probably name somebody who's influenced our faith journey. And I know not everybody here, is like all in gung-ho for Jesus and following him right now. If that's all what this room was, then I would say we need to go and find some people at your schools and on your teams that we need to bring back here. So I think it's really awesome that there's people at all different areas, all different places and spots along in their journey. But I would argue and think that this kind of relational help, this advice will apply to each and every one of you. And I also want to say this, because if you're in this room, it's for one of 2 reasons. If your heart is beating, it's for one of 2 reasons. It's that either Jesus is chasing you down to show you his love for you, or he's using you to chase down those he hasn't chased down just yet. So either Jesus is chasing you down to show you his love for you, or he is using you to chase down those he hasn't chased down just yet. So there's a reason for all of us to be here tonight. There's a reason for all of us to be living our life. And so regardless of all this, all people are important. Everyone's important. Say, everyone is important. Amen. Yes. Everyone's important. Your people are important. Your people are important. Your people are important. Everyone's people are important. It is important. Everyone's people is important. Good grammar. So, but here's the thing. Your people will either leave you at the surface or they will take you deeper. Your people will either leave you at the surface or they'll take you deeper. And now I could keep stating different ways of how the people closest to you are important. I think that, and I kind of assume that you guys know that. The people who are around you are important. Either because someone has been there for you in the past, and so you recognize how important they are, or you've been really hurt in the past by someone who is important to you. And so you recognize that they were important as well, and then they hurt you or they rejected you or abandoned you. So there is importance with who we keep close to us. Tonight we're talking about a couple of guys named Caleb and Joshua. Sorry, my Frappuccino I'm almost done with. Caleb and Joshua we're talking about tonight. Can you guys do this for me? Can you say, I cannot have a sucker-free life?
A sucker-free life.
Perfect. Let's do that again. Say, I cannot have a sucker-free life. So tonight, really what we're talking about is people who suck the life out of you. I had to leave that out there. People who suck the life out of you. Does anybody know someone who does that? Don't raise your hand. I try to trick you. Don't look at the person next to you either. Don't do that. It's going to make small group really awkward tonight. So we all know people. We all have probably people in our life who can suck the life out of us at times. And so we can't have a sucker-free life. But you know the real reason why you can't have a sucker-free life? It's because you're a sucker, man! It's because you're a sucker! We're all suckers! Say this with me. Say, I'm a sucker.
I'm a sucker.
But I taste good. Just kidding. Say, but I'm loved anyways. That's good. The key to, my old pastor, Stephen Furtick, if you've heard of him at Elevation Church, says the key to having a suck-free soul, the key to having a sucker-free soul is Jesus. You have access to Jesus if you've ever called on his name, and the Holy Spirit can transform your life. So that protects us, right? That transforms us. We don't need to live in this land of negativity, this land of emptiness, but we have access to Jesus. And so I mentioned, we're looking at this story in the book of Numbers. It's a very exciting book. It's all about numbers. It's kind of misleading. Just kidding. It's not about numbers. That's why I said that. I didn't make that clear. We're looking at the story of Joshua and Caleb and Moses. And it's a really cool story from Numbers chapter 13. What ends up happening, if you know any backstory with Moses, is that he leads the Israelites out of Egypt. They're in slavery. He leads them all out. Red Sea, you know what? That's Moses, leads the people out. They're good. They're in the wilderness now. They're out there. And God is leading them into the promised land. In chapter 13, verse 1, it actually says that God is giving the Israelites the land. He says God is giving them the land. But what happens next is Moses is like, okay, God, that's great. Glad you're giving us the land. But just to be sure, I'm going to send in my 12 spies, and they're going to go check it out for a month and then come back, and then we'll go and take the land. And so we're looking at verse 1, we're looking at verse 27, a little bit later in the story. And this is what happens because Moses sends in the spies, and they end up coming back. It says, they gave Moses this account. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here's its fruit. And so what they did was they actually got like a huge kebab stick, essentially of grapes, just like shoulder to shoulder, like across the stage, and just walk back. And we're like, man, it flows with milk and honey, and it's got a ton of fruit. Just grapes for days. Keep the dogs away. That's sad. Sorry if anybody lost their dog from eating grapes. I didn't mean to say that. But they got grapes for days. You got to keep them off the floor, okay? So, I don't know if I'm going to recover. So they're saying this good stuff. They're like, okay, we've got fruit, we've got milk, we've got honey. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified, which means they've got huge walls. And very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country. And the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan. It's like, man, we got my middle school team up against like the Western All-Stars. LeBron's over here. You've got Kyrie's in the East. What's going on? I don't know, man. But they're just like, man, we can handle this. We can handle this. No, we can't. It's good. No, it's not. Right? So they preface it. They like give a compliment sandwich. If you've ever heard of that. Like, man, I really like your hat, but you're a jerk, and you really hurt my feelings, and I hate you for the rest of my life. But I hope you have a great day. Like, compliment sandwich. They're like, man, they got milk, they got honey, but everything else about it is really going to kill us. So we probably shouldn't do it. And then they didn't even put on the other half of the sandwich. They didn't even slide another slice of bread in there. It's just like I don't even know what you'd call that. An unfinished sandwich. It's sad. It's an open taco, really, is what it is. It's not even folded. It's going to get hurt. So, they're saying this. I know what you're thinking. You're like, what the heck is happening? So then what Caleb does. So like I said, we're talking about Caleb and Joshua. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, fool! We can't attack these people! Are you insane? They are stronger than we are. And then what they did was they went and they spread among the Israelites a bad report. You ever know anybody that does that? Where they're like, hey, they're going to say this is one way, but let me tell you how it really is. Because we can't do it. Okay, they said, the land we explored devours those living in it. So they didn't even tell all the people about the milk and honey. They just went right for it. They're like, man, everything about this land is going to kill us. It devours us. Devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. Anybody ever felt like a grasshopper? I don't think so. It's a bizarre thing to say. And guys, you wouldn't believe it. When we saw these people, they were huge. I felt like a grasshopper. You wouldn't say that. You would say, I felt small, like or an ant, not a grasshopper. Grasshopper. Okay. So, this is what's happening. Moses sends these guys in, these 12 spies in. 10 of them come back with this really crappy report, really negative report. Joshua and Caleb are there, they're saying, no, man, it's good. It's good, the land is good. God is giving us the land. Remember, I said it at the beginning. But these 10 spies, what they do is they complain. And guess what? This is what I want you to know tonight. It's that there's a cost for complaining. There's a cost for complaining. And the cost in this story is that God actually ends up stranding the Israelites in the wilderness for 40 years because they complained. Because what Moses and Aaron did is they listened to the 10 instead of to the 2. They listened to the 10. Look at your neighbor and say, you look like a 10. Now look at your other neighbor and say, you look like a 2. You want to be, I'm telling you tonight, you want to be a 2. Okay? Tonight you want to be a 2. And here's why. Here's why, because the 10 spread a bad report. The 10 complained. The 10 saw the negativity. The 10 spread the negativity. And the 10 ended up being stranded in the wilderness, and none of their families got to go and see the promised land. Whereas the 2 got to see the promised land. Sounds like a pretty good deal. There's power in complaining. So even though, because later in chapter 14, actually Joshua and Caleb are together, and all the people are going crazy. They're like, oh man, we're going to die. Why did they lead us out of Egypt just to leave us here? This is horrible. Let's go back into slavery. That's what they said. And then Joshua and Caleb are like, no, God is giving us the land. Remember, verse 1, God is giving us the land. He's already doing it. And then what happened was all the Israelites said, these guys are nuts. Let's stone them. Proposal 1. The leaders got it. Educate yourself. It's okay. I'm just going to let everyone can think. You'll get that later. Oh my gosh, he just did it. Okay. You guys can Google it later. It's okay. Maybe not. I'll leave it up to you. So there's power in complaining. There is power in complaining. Moral of the story. Because the 10 were able to persuade Moses and Aaron, who were leading all of Israel. They persuaded them, and they said they planted enough seeds of doubt, enough seeds of fear. If you've ever had anybody do that to you, you know how that feels. When you get planted with seeds of doubt, seeds of fear. You feel that. And it hurts, and it lasts, and it lingers. And there's power in it. And even though Joshua and Caleb were on the right page, having the right perspective, it didn't matter. God ends up stranding them in the wilderness for 40 years. So there's something to be said about you and who you let speak into your life. Are we letting people who are like Joshua and Caleb speak into our lives? Who are 2s? I'm going to refer to them as 2s. Or are we letting people who are more like the other 10, who are more like 10s, speak into our life and surround us? Because when something looks hard or feels hard or isn't easy or isn't somebody's preference, what a 10 will always do is they will always find something negative and always find a way to not push through it. They'll always find a way to get stopped and to stop the people around them. They'll always find something to complain about. They'll always look at the size of the circumstance instead of the size of their God. They'll always look at the size of their problem instead of the size of the promise. Because here, God is saying, I have a promise for you. I have the land. It's literally the promised land. That means it's the land I've promised to you. Pretty simple. But they said, no, I want to complain. No, I want to find reasons not to go. They look at the size of the problem instead of the promise. Sometimes they can drain and suck the life out of you. I'm not saying that God can't use these kinds of people, but they're not people who will take you deeper in your faith. Whereas the 2 will always leave you full. The 2 will look to the promise instead of the problem. They'll look at the size of their God instead of the size of the circumstance. They'll look at what God is doing instead of maybe how things seem. And like Caleb, they'll bring peace where there's panic. Caleb was able to silence everyone and say what was actually true. Bring peace to the panic. And that sounds good to me. These are the people that God will use to take you deeper in your faith. So when you think about it, is your life filled with people who are more like Joshua and Caleb, who are 2s, or more like people who are 10s? Because in my life, I think of a few people. But first, give it up for your small group leaders. Give it up. Just give it up for your small group leaders. Because those are some 2s. All right? Those are some 2s. Specifically in my life, I think of Sam Olson, because anytime I talk with her, I just feel peace. I just sense peace and comfort is what I sense from her. Anytime I talk with her, I'm like, you're just really peaceful. I just feel really comforted, even as we're talking about something that might be stressful, but I just feel better. It's a 2. That is an attribute of a 2. Brian Petty, so much joy and energy, bro. He'll just walk in and I'll be like, oh, supernatural energy. I just feel better because you have joy. Those are Caleb and Joshua's. Those are those kinds of people that you want in your life. I have a friend named Eric Wolf who I was talking with earlier this week, and we were just having a normal conversation on the phone, and he was like, hey Sam, you know what I love about you? It's that you always, no matter the context, no matter what you're walking into, you always bring your true self, and you always bring joy to the situation. And I was like, that's really nice of you to say. Because I didn't expect it. I told him, I was like, man, I'm taking this as like God meeting me in the middle of my day. Because I needed that. But he saw something that no one else saw, or no one else felt a need to say. I think about one of my closest friends, Cody Wilson, and a day, a few months ago, probably one of the harder days I've had in a couple years, and because I was I had some of the fears, some of the seeds of fear, seeds of doubt planted in me, and I just let them, probably by somebody that was a 10, I don't know, I'm probably still bitter, I need to forgive, but I was really just believing that I wasn't qualified, that I wasn't worthy, that I was kind of not worthless, but I was just really hurt. And he was there in a moment where I just needed somebody, and he restored my identity and how God sees me. And so that's somebody like a Caleb, somebody like a Joshua. And my wife, I would say as well, I've just learned time and time again where she's reminded me of God's truth in my life, where she's reminded me of God's promises and his goodness, even when maybe it doesn't look, maybe it looks like there's the walls are fortified in the land that we're supposed to walk to. The walls, it's we can't do it, I can't do it. And she'd be there to say, no, we can do it because God is promising these things he's promising. Or think about the 10s in my life. And think about, I'm not going to say their names, don't worry. But I think about what I feel when I'm around them, and I feel really negative. I've lost passion for Jesus sometimes because I've been around them so much, because I just feel life sucked out of me. I just start seeing things with a really negative mindset. And I start tearing things down, tearing things apart. And I get really empty and exhausted. So just ask yourself, are you a 10 or are you a 2? Are you a 10 or are you a 2? And do you have people in your life that are 10s or that are 2s? Because the 10s will leave you at the surface, and God will use the 2s to take you deeper in your faith. I want to invite the worship team up. But specifically with Joshua, God used him to lead all of Israel. He was like, okay, that's a good spy. I like his perspective. I like his report. God used him to lead all of Israel into the promised land. He's the kind of person you want to be, and he's the kind of person you want in your life. God uses people like Joshua and Caleb to grow our faith, to take us deeper. And he uses others in our lives to take us deeper in our faith with him. And so it's really, really important that we realize that when we think about how to do this. You wonder maybe okay, great Sam, sounds good. Am I a 10 or a 2? Okay, I can think about that. Hopefully I'm a 2. Maybe I'm a 10, I don't know. First off, it's okay if you feel like maybe you are a 10. Most of the time, I would argue that if you feel like you're a 10, it's probably not your fault. Usually along the way, there's somebody that might have said something that just really hurt you, and so now you just live out of your hurt. You live out of your brokenness, rather than living out of who God's created you to be. And so when you think about it, because this isn't a free ticket, free pass on the judgment train either, for those of you that have friends that maybe are doing things that you shouldn't be doing, or thinking about things and living a lifestyle that isn't helpful to you, but rather it's to help you really think about relationships in this kind of new way, in a way that really will change how you live and change how you interact with them. because we need to find a balance with our relationships. And Kensington has this thing, we really value here the importance of community, the importance of living as a family. If you've ever heard that, and we call these our 2 a.m. friends. And so even right now, as you're sitting there, just take a moment and think about, who are your 2 a.m. friends? Who are the friends that you would call when maybe you have called, when everything's hit the fan? Maybe you have called when you're in a time of need, when your car goes off the side of the road, whatever it is. Who are the people that you have there, and are they 2s or 10s? Are they 2s or are they 10s? Because there's a cost for complaining, but the good news is this, it's that there is a reward for rejoicing. There's a cost for complaining, but there is a reward for rejoicing that lasts forever. The reward for Caleb and Joshua was that they were the only 2 in all their families that were able to see the promised land. But the reward for all of us, like if you know what it's like to feel like, man, I just keep complaining, or I'm surrounded by people who complain and who are negative, like you feel a lot of that. I know for me, like I feel like I carry burdens of negativity when I live like that. I can carry that, and I can live with that. And it's hard, and you carry that, and you're not really receiving the full goodness of God either when we live like that. Whereas the reward, Paul actually says in chapter 4 of the book of Philippians, when Paul he's in prison for God, he's in prison for God, and he says rejoice. Again, I say rejoice. And it's like, man, he's in prison for God. Like if anyone's going to complain, if I was ever going to complain, it'd probably be when like I was in prison for God. Like I'm like, man, these chains, like this is horrible. Like God, why'd you lead me here? I can't believe this. And that's complaining, and there's a cost there. There's a cost associated with that. Whereas Paul is here saying, no, rejoice. I choose to rejoice and rejoice again. Again, I say rejoice. It's crazy. Because the rewards when we rejoice are that we have perspective and we're walking in the truth that God has for us. We're walking and we're receiving the fullness of his goodness in our life. John 10:10 says, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come to give life. I'm going to ask for some help if you know it, and life to the fullest, yes. All life abundantly in some translations. But we want to be able to receive that. And when we choose to rejoice, that's what we're doing. We're saying, God, I want to receive who you are in my life. I want to receive it. And there's always room to grow. If you feel like you are somebody that is a 10, or you look at somebody who is a 10, like there's always room to grow to become a 2. It's literally saying, Jesus, come and transform me. That's all it is. Saying, Jesus, come and transform my life. He'll start to help you see things differently. He'll start to help you be able to recognize who he is and where he is in situations in your life, and how you communicate and how you talk in your relationships. Yeah. Let's just stand. Let's stand as we close tonight. You ready to sing?